Ahoy, and welcome back to the Workaround. My name is Bob Gilbreth. I'm sitting right here to make you think, smile, and discover a shortcut to success or a trap to avoid. This, over on Substack, is a post for paid subscribers who are interested in supporting my work and or following the rabbit hole into broader topics of life. That's how I'm using the paid paywall over there, really more as something where when I get into the more life topics, people who came for the business tips don't feel too imposed upon. I guess that's my excuse. But here on the podcast and the YouTube, I have not put up paywalls. Maybe there's a way to do it. I'm very lazy, but also I think you guys deserve an extra reward for finding me in these different channels. So this is my gift to you. If you would like to pay it forward, please go subscribe over at Substack. Note that 100% of the money that comes in, I just recycle into efforts to bring in more subscribers. I've got some paid media and some other tools I use that this would pay for that. So the more you spend, the more people come find this good stuff. Now, on to the program. This paid, more personal post is called "Why Do Good People Keep Bad Company? My struggle to understand how harmful leaders retain talent." Most of us have had a friend who dated or married a jerk. They suffer for months or years, but bear it without making a change. Mutual friends whisper about how awful their partner is and how we might somehow conspire to free them from their misery. Then our friend enters the room, accompanied by their dark cloud, a perma expression of defeat and weariness. We return home pondering, why do they stick it out? I have several friends in such a position, but it's not a romantic relationship I worry over. It's their manager or CEO. These friends are people with whom I have worked closely in amazing companies with strong leaders. They know what a safe, positive, inspiring workplace looks like. Yet they stay in jobs with leaders who openly denigrate them and rip away the agency and meaning that work once gave them. I've spent many hours, wondering why they take this abuse. This is an exploration with a few stories thrown in, of course. Without giving too much away, various friends and acquaintances I have worked with are currently employed by a CEO known in the industry as the Monster. He was hired by a leading private equity firm that took over a company I know well. Upon arrival, he proceeded to make lots of changes. This included he personally reviews every expense report in the company, fires women as they are delivering children in the maternity ward, fails to pay earned income and bonuses, cuts healthcare coverage without warning, declares certain words to be firing offenses, promotes his political beliefs through company-wide email, and directly tells employees things like, "You are insignificant." The Monster proudly lets his asshole flag fly, and there is nothing you can do about it. Well, you can quit, of course. Many have. But many have stayed. This breaks my heart and my brain. And there are so many monsters out there. A few years ago, the Me Too movement helped shed light on the darkness that lurked in the open of many companies of all sizes. But it didn't stop this form of predatory behavior. And it did nothing to address the countless other shades of asshole that leaders can display. From the stories I hear and my knowledge of human nature, it seems to be getting worse out there. Companies are under intense economic pressure due to the end of the good times. The fear generated by their private and public investors turns into knee-jerk actions that lack heart. Many are led by people who have never been forced to build operational discipline skills or employee motivation knowledge. So they follow the herd, taking inspiration from their peers and infamous leaders. Many have copied their models for regular riffs and return to work policies that drive people out. As just one example, my friend at a newly IPO'd tech firm recently received a fresh policy memo from her HR department. It said managers are now free to fire any employee for any reason at any time. And the standard months-long exit package was reduced to 2 weeks of severance. And yet, despite low unemployment, many job openings, and some companies with truly enlightened leadership, so many people remain aboard ships captained by fools and rogues. I know so many bright, fair, kind people in these positions. I and many others would employ them again in a flash. And they know better. They know the CEO is awful and how much better a company can be. Yet they stick around. These countless friends and even whole universities willingly remain under the power of leaders who are unworthy of them. Why stay? I think our actions or inactions in this case are driven by a myriad of conscious and unconscious factors. Through conversations with my friends and study of human nature, I see a few common themes. First, there's those who work to live. For nearly all of us, to some degree, work is a means to an end. It is an effort done in exchange for money, which allows us to support our family, lifestyle, and charitable giving. This is the primary mentality of many people. They can tune out the inhumanity of their leaders and turn everything off at the end of the day. I've seriously envied these powers. Others have found a niche. They managed to carve out an oasis of excellence amid the sea of garbage surrounding them. They have a specific role or a small team that is mostly left alone. Team leaders stick around in order to protect their people, and their people have loyalty in return. They can all laugh together at the CEO's stupidity and rely on each other to find workarounds. It can be a strategic plan. Folks who are thinking strategically are quietly quitting or otherwise turning the tables on their employer, using them for personal gain. They dial it in for an easy paycheck while actively interviewing or pursuing side hustles. Some are sucking it up for a few more months or years until an earnout is done, the company is sold, or they hit retirement time. Others must buy time while caring for a loved one or handling other significant life change. No matter the reason, they have made a conscious choice. And because they've made the job work for them or see a solid finish line ahead, they can deal with the bullshit with little stress. And finally, fear, the fear factor. This is the big one in too many minds. The fear of finding the next job, fitting in with a new team, and otherwise dancing with the devil they don't know, traps them where they are. Fear puts us in mental chains of our own design. And the world out there seems to be getting scarier. There are no career roadmaps, no stability in sight, and looming threats of trade wars, deteriorating safety nets, and artificial intelligence. Maybe it's better to stay here and stick it out. I think of a quote from Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, which tells his story of being in a concentration camp during World War II. He said, "Traditions which buttressed man's behavior are now rapidly diminishing. No instinct tells him what he has to do, and no tradition tells him what he ought to do. Sometimes he does not even know what he wishes to do. Instead, he either wishes to do what other people do, conformism, or he does what other people wish him to do, totalitarianism." Being jobless also feels like being useless, and being useless feels like having a meaningless life. Lack of meaning seems to be the greatest source of suffering in our era of plenty. I'm concerned about what this compound interest of negativity will do to the lives ahead of them and the lives of others. Awful cultures and the CEOs that lead them leave a stink on your resume. Every industry we work in is a small world that loves to gossip. Those who escape such stories, those who escape spread stories, hoping to warn others and clean off their reputations. Resumes from such companies start to get auto-rejected. Former work acquaintances grow more distant. But it's more than just a negative perception. The longer you hang out in a bad crowd, the more you become a bad actor. We all saw this growing up, of course. By now, most parents know there's very little we can do to change our children's personalities. Genetics and luck matter most. However, one thing we can do is put our children in positive environments. Schools that nurture them, safe neighborhoods, and play dates with friends whose parents are stable. It's no different for grown-ups. We are social creatures programmed to fit into whatever community we are placed in. If the CEO yells and bullies people, his executive team will do the same. And as a manager, you will be biased to follow the leaders and how things are done here. I worked for an asshole for several years, and even though I was doing it with the strategic rationale I mentioned earlier, I frequently caught myself mimicking his worst behavior. This is the strategy of leaders like the monster. They have their own deep-seated demons going back to childhood. It can be the infant who cries for more and more attention and gets lavish praise. They look at other humans as extensions of themselves, which means they can demand more of them for personal gain. Most employees flee such situations, but enough stay for all the reasons above that the leader continues. Those who stay enter the Faustian bargain and willingly walk into a hell on earth. The CEO continues to treat people poorly to keep them in line, to steal their self-respect, so they further fear life on the outside. This is the same playbook of cult leaders, communist brainwashers, and kidnappers. Again, words from Viktor Frankl. If the man in the concentration camp did not struggle against this in a last-ditch effort to save his self-respect, he lost the feeling of being an individual, a being with a mind, with inner freedom and personal value. He thought of himself then as only a part of an enormous mass of people. His existence descended to the level of animal life. And then these people suffering start recruiting. A few weeks ago, I had lunch with an old friend, Allie, who was in the market for a new job. She mentioned that a former manager of hers was now the right-hand executive of the monster, and he was eager for Allie to interview for a spot on his team. After hearing so many horror stories, Alice said she instinctively shuddered at the thought. But her former manager and friend plowed on with his pitch. He said, "The PE firm is well known and should be selling the company in a few years. You'll get shares if you come. You'll be working for me, so you'll be fine. The monster isn't so bad. He's just misunderstood." Allie didn't buy it, thank God. She got a great job elsewhere a few weeks later. Those who stay in abusive relationships often enable further abuse to themselves and their children. The cycle can continue over many generations. Companies are no different. Employees remain under the power of monsters, adding to their power for harm. At an industry conference a few months ago, I met Susan. She explained that she is new to her company, joining after spending 17 years at her previous firm. Private equity acquired that previous firm, and the monster became her CEO. I asked her if the stories were true. She confirmed them and added a few more jaw-droppers. Now, I can't help but ask provocative questions, even of people I've just met. I'm truly curious about people and always love looking for stories to power these posts. And I've also got permanent bruises from where my wife kicks me under the table when I tend to do this. But I forge on for the benefit of you, dear listener. I gently asked her, "Why did you stay there so long?" Susan took a deep breath and answered, "I felt like I missed the move to digital marketing a long time ago and stayed with this company because I was afraid I would fail if I tried going elsewhere. I didn't think anyone would want me. but getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. She described how her network helped her land a new job in a strong, stable digital role. Susan learned quickly and took advantage of her skills that have never gone out of style, like inspiring a team and building trusted client relationships. To my friends in these situations, please remember you have one work/life to live, and you have choices which define you. You can't escape. We are all here to help whenever you're ready, and we love you no matter what. So, what's my problem? Well, nearly 2 years ago, I had my first heroic psychedelic experience, which I'll probably talk about later in a paid personal post. During those few hours, the magic mushroom teachers shared several lessons. A big one was, you've got your own shit to figure out, Bob. In other words, I spend far too much time judging and worrying about what other people do with their lives. Since then, I've tried to use these views of others as a mirror back on myself. So, why do I spend so much time thinking about the monsters of the world and the people who work for them? First, maybe I'm the asshole here. For reasons going back to my childhood, I watch leaders' moves closely, and I'm very sensitive to how they treat me. I'm a tough critic and hold the bar of leadership high. I also tend to view people as good or bad. Maybe I'm selectively looking for CEO horror stories and promoting them to make myself feel superior. The ego is a tricky son of a bitch. Okay, feels good to get that out there. Well, other reasons. Secondly, I do generally care about my friends. I see what's happening to them, and it breaks my heart to see them suffer. I've been stuck like they have and want them to see that often the grass is really greener on the other side. I see their irrational fears and the way out for them. I also just want to make the world better. That's the meaning of my life. And it's what keeps me working, writing, sitting here right now speaking. I've studied and practiced leadership for decades and seen the best and the worst of them. To me, leadership is one of the highest responsibilities as we hold others' lives in our hands. Finally, while we're admitting things, I have to say I love having an enemy, and I want to crush the leaders who cause suffering. This comes from my shadow side. It is a powerful motivation that I have wielded in business battles a few times to career and company-ending effects on some prize-winning assholes. It's also gotten me into trouble a few times. But with this post, I'm letting go. I'm getting older, and I think wiser, and now I see that I cannot live in others' shoes. I cannot save everyone. We all have our own lives to live and heroes' journeys to accept or ignore. I can only do my part towards something better, building and investing in businesses driven by love instead of fear. One by one, I do sense this is a trend of enlightened leadership that is growing. And thanks to the miracle of free markets, I believe one day we'll relegate the monsters and the PEs that enabled them to the slag heap of work history, along with concepts like feudalism and slavery. Thank you for doing your part in this grand movement, including providing me with this avenue to explore and share. Ahoy for now.